I was standing in the middle of a luxury department store in Boston when my daughter-in-law laughed and said something that made the entire room go silent. "She's wearing that?" she asked. A few people turned. A few smiled. Then she looked directly at me. "I guess when you have no standards, anything looks expensive." The laughter that followed wasn't loud. It was worse. It was polite, controlled, the kind of laughter rich people use when they don't want to seem cruel. I felt my face burn, my fingers tighten around the handbag I had been holding. Across from me, my son lowered his eyes. He didn't defend me. He didn't say a word, and that hurt more than her insult. But neither of them noticed the security guards walking toward us. At first, I thought they were coming for me. I was wrong. They were coming for them. And when the head of security spoke my name, my daughter-in-law's smile disappeared so fast it looked painful, because the truth was finally catching up to them, and they had no idea how much I knew. My name is Margaret Ellis. I'm 73 years old. 3 years before that day, my husband Daniel died. 48 years of marriage ended with a heart monitor going silent in a hospital room that suddenly felt too large. The grief nearly destroyed me, but loneliness finished the job. People don't talk about what happens after the funeral. Everyone promises they'll visit. Everyone promises they'll call. Then life pulls them away. Soon the house becomes quiet. Too quiet. The clock becomes louder than conversations. The television becomes company. And every evening feels longer than the last. My son Christopher lived only 40 minutes away. At first, he visited every week, then every month, then only when he needed something. I told myself he was busy. That's what mothers do. We explain away the pain. We protect our children even when they're hurting us. Christopher had always been charming, handsome, confident, the kind of boy teachers adored, the kind of man people trusted immediately. His wife Vanessa was exactly the same, beautiful, polished, always smiling, always saying the right thing. But there was something behind her eyes that unsettled me, a coldness, a calculation, like every conversation was a business transaction. The first time she came into my home after Daniel died, she walked through every room, not admiring it, evaluating it. I noticed. I never forgot. A year later, Christopher sat at my kitchen table, rain capped softly against the windows. He looked nervous. "Mom, I need a favor." Those words changed everything. He explained he was starting a new investment company. He said it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He said investors were ready. He said he only needed temporary help. Then he slid paperwork across the table. "I just need your signature." I stared at the documents. What exactly am I signing? A small loan guarantee. My stomach tightened. Christopher smiled. "Mom, don't worry. It's just paperwork." Just paperwork. The 3 most dangerous words in the English language. I told him I needed time. His smile faded. For a moment, something flashed across his face, something ugly, then it disappeared. Of course. That night, I couldn't sleep. At 2 a.m, I called someone I hadn't spoken to in years, my husband's old attorney, Richard Bennett. The next afternoon, he reviewed every page. When he finished reading, he removed his glasses. Then he looked at me with genuine concern. "Margaret, do not sign this." My heart dropped. "Why?" "Because if this business fails, they can come after your assets." I felt sick. "You're saying I could lose my home?" "Yes." Silence filled the office. Then Richard leaned forward. "And I don't think that's the only reason they want your signature." I felt cold, very cold. That was the first crack, the first glimpse of something hiding beneath the surface, but it wasn't even close to the worst part. Over the next several months, Christopher became strangely interested in my finances. He asked about insurance policies, retirement accounts, property values, savings. At first, the questions seemed casual, then they became constant. Vanessa started asking them too. One evening, she sat across from me at dinner, wine glass in hand, smile perfectly practiced. "Have you ever thought about downsizing?" I looked around my dining room, the room where my children had grown up, the room where Daniel proposed to me, the room where every Christmas memory lived. "No." She smiled. "That's understandable." But her eyes said something else. They said, "Not yet." A week later, I received a call from my bank. The representative sounded confused. "Mrs. Ellis, we wanted to verify a recent request." "What request?" "Someone called asking about transferring authority on your accounts." My blood froze. "Who?" The representative hesitated. Then she told me, "Christopher." I nearly dropped the phone. When I confronted him, he acted offended. I was trying to help. "Without asking me? Mom, you're getting older." There it was. The sentence every aging parent fears. You're getting older. Not concern, not love, control disguised as concern. After that, I started paying attention, really paying attention, and what I discovered terrified me. Christopher and Vanessa were drowning in debt. Luxury cars, designer vacations, failed investments, private clubs, expensive appearances. Their lifestyle was built on money they didn't actually have. Then one afternoon, Richard called. His voice sounded urgent. "Margaret, you need to come see me immediately." The folder waiting on his desk changed everything. Inside were documents connected to Christopher's business. Loans, liabilities, lawsuits, millions of dollars at risk. I stared at the papers, my hands trembling. "How bad is it?" Richard looked me directly in the eye. "Bad enough that your son may be looking at your estate as his escape plan." The room spun. My own son, the little boy who used to run into my arms after school, the child I stayed awake with during fevers, the teenager I defended when nobody else would. That son. I drove home in tears, but fate wasn't finished, because 2 weeks later, I found something hidden inside a drawer Christopher had forgotten to close. A draft proposal, prepared by Vanessa. The title made my stomach turn. Asset Transition Strategy. My assets, my home, my accounts, my future, reduced to bullet points. One line stood out. Phase 3. Establish incapacity concerns. I read it 3 times, then 5, then 10. Incapacity concerns. They weren't just planning to inherit my money. They were planning to convince people I couldn't manage it myself. My knees nearly gave out. That night, I sat alone in my kitchen, crying. Not because of the money, because of the betrayal. The people I loved most weren't waiting for me to die. They were preparing for it. And then, something happened that changed the game completely. Richard called again. This time, he had a plan. "Margaret, if they're willing to manipulate you, let them think they're succeeding." I frowned. "What do you mean?" "Don't fight them." I stared at him. "Watch them." So I did. For 6 months. I watched, I listened, I documented everything, every suspicious email, every financial inquiry, every conversation, every lie. And the deeper I looked, the uglier the truth became. Christopher wasn't simply desperate, he was stealing. Investors were losing money, records were being altered, funds were disappearing. Meanwhile, Vanessa was quietly encouraging every decision, the perfect partner in the perfect scam. But they still believed I knew nothing. Then came the invitation, a charity gala in Boston. Vanessa insisted I attend. She even offered to help me choose an outfit. The sweetness felt fake, because it was. At the event, I realized why she wanted me there. I wasn't family. I was a prop. A wealthy, elderly mother. Evidence of stability. Evidence of success. Evidence that everything was fine. I smiled, played my role, and waited. Because by then, Richard had already shared everything with the authorities. The investigation had begun. Neither Christopher nor Vanessa knew. Weeks passed, then months, and eventually the pressure started showing. Christopher became angry, paranoid, desperate. Investors demanded answers, money disappeared, stories stopped matching. The walls were closing in. Then came the day at the Boston department store, the day everything exploded. Vanessa had invited me shopping. She wanted appearances. Again, she always wanted appearances. We walked through designer displays. Crystal lighting sparkled overhead. Luxury surrounded us. Then she noticed my handbag, an old leather bag Daniel had bought me years earlier. It wasn't expensive, but it meant everything. That's when she laughed. That's when she mocked me. That's when she announced to everyone that I had no standards. And that's when security arrived. The lead officer walked directly toward us. "Mrs. Ellis." I nodded. Vanessa smirked, probably assuming they were removing me. Instead, he turned toward Christopher and Vanessa. "Mr. and Mrs. Reynolds, we need you to come with us." Confusion hit their faces, then fear, real fear. "What is this about?" Christopher asked. The officer's expression never changed. "We have investigators waiting." The color drained from Vanessa's face. People stopped shopping. Everyone watched. Nobody spoke. Christopher looked at me. Finally, really looked at me. And for the first time, he understood. I knew. I knew everything. The investigation lasted months. The evidence was overwhelming. Financial fraud, false statements, misappropriated funds. The headlines spread across Boston. Friends vanished. Investors sued. Business partners turned against them. The glamorous life collapsed almost overnight. And then came the courtroom. I will never forget that room. The silence, the tension, the way Christopher looked older than his years, the way Vanessa no longer appeared confident. The masks were gone. Truth had stripped them away. When I testified, I didn't speak with anger. I spoke with sadness, because despite everything, he was still my son. I described the documents, the manipulation, the attempts to gain control of my finances, the plans they thought I'd never see. Christopher couldn't look at me. Vanessa stared straight ahead. Neither denied it because they couldn't. The evidence spoke louder than excuses. The judgment was devastating. Financial penalties, asset seizures, professional ruin. Years of consequences. But what surprised everyone happened afterward, including me, because when the trial ended, Christopher approached me, alone. No lawyers, no cameras, no Vanessa, just a broken man standing before his mother. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then he started crying, not the controlled tears people use for sympathy, real tears, ugly tears, the kind that come from finally seeing yourself clearly. "I'm sorry." 2 words, simple, late, but real. I stood there, quietly, listening. He apologized for the greed, the lies, the manipulation, the humiliation, the betrayal, everything. And when he finished, I realized something. The greatest punishment had already happened. He had become someone he no longer respected. That burden would follow him forever. I didn't hug him, not then. Some wounds need time. But I nodded, and I left. Months later, I sold my house, not because anyone forced me, because I was ready. I moved into a beautiful historic condominium overlooking the harbor. I made new friends, joined community groups, started traveling, started living again. For the first time since Daniel died, I felt free. Not free from age, not free from grief, free from fear, free from waiting for other people to value me. And one spring morning, standing beside the water as sunlight danced across the harbor, I thought about everything that had happened. The insults, the lies, the betrayal, the courtroom, the tears. And I finally understood something. People think strength looks loud. They think strength is shouting, fighting, demanding. But sometimes strength is quieter than that. Sometimes strength is a 73-year-old widow who refuses to surrender her dignity. Sometimes strength is surviving disappointment without becoming bitter. Sometimes strength is knowing the truth, waiting patiently, and letting it reveal itself. The people who called me weak never understood that. The people who underestimated me never saw it coming. And the people who thought I had no standards eventually learned the truth. I had standards all along. I simply refused to lower them to their level. And in the end, that made all the difference.